Ever find yourself like doodling in the margins of your notes? Even when it's something super serious, makes
Mm,
you wonder, right? Like, what if it's not just procrastination? What if your brain's actually craving a different kind of thinking?
mm. Interesting.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. That's right, the whole world of arts based learning. And trust me, it's not just about finger painting anymore. This is about like rewiring how we learn, how we innovate.
I'm intrigued.
We're diving deep into this paper by Carlos Saladin today, and you are not going to believe this.
Well, lay it on me. What's got you so fired up? What's Saladin saying?
Okay, so get this. Saladin's basically saying this whole idea we've had forever, like centuries, that math and art, science and dance, they're like totally separate things.
Yeah, different universes, right?
Totally. He's like, nope, not how the real world works, folks.
Kidding. I mean, think about like any problem you've ever had to
If
solve
it worked.
in your life. Even just trying to put together, I don't know, that bookshelf with the instructions that look like they were written in another language.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's never just one type of thinking, right? You need logic, you need creativity, maybe a little bit of spatial reasoning just to make sense of the diagrams.
It's like that meme with the math equation, and then it says, now use common sense.
Exactly.
Sometimes the right answer, it's just not enough.
Not even close. And that's where this whole idea of transdisciplinarity comes in. Big word, I know. But Saladin's point is the way we learn, even the way we think about knowledge itself, it needs to change. It needs to reflect how everything's actually connected.
Okay, transdisciplinarity. I'll be honest. I'm going to need a minute to wrap my head around that one. Break it down for us. What does that even mean, like in plain English?
Okay, imagine this. You're trying to explain, say, a really complex idea. Could be a new marketing plan, a scientific discovery, whatever. You can just hit people with facts, figures, bullet points. But what if you told them a story instead?
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
Or even better, what if you came up with some visual metaphor that just made them get it? That's what we're talking about here.
So it's less about being like the expert in one tiny little box and more about being able to connect the dots between all the different boxes.
Exactly. And that's where art comes in. Not just as a subject in school, but as a way of thinking, a way of approaching problems that can lead to totally new solutions.
So less about painting a pretty picture, more about thinking like an artist.
Exactly. Saladin calls this art thinking. And get this, it's a key part of what he calls research creation, where the actual process of making art, like really making it, becomes a way of, well, generating actual knowledge.
Whoa, okay, hold on. You're blowing my mind a little here. Two big ideas at once. Let's unpack them one at a time. First up, art thinking. What does that even look like? How's it different from, say, the way a scientist or an engineer might approach something?
Okay, so let's say you need a brand new marketing strategy. A
Mhm.
traditional, more convergent approach might be you analyze your competitors, you see what's working, you try to replicate it.
Find the right answer based on what you already know, right?
Exactly. But art thinking, that pushes you towards divergent thinking. It asks, what if we threw out all the rules? What if we tried something nobody expects, something totally new?
So instead of looking for the right answer, you're looking for an interesting question, a new way of seeing the problem. It's like that saying, think outside the box, but maybe even like reimagine the box altogether.
Exactly. And this is especially important in our like post-internet, post-truth world, as Saladin puts it. We're bombarded with information, right? It can be hard to tell what's true, what's biased, what's just trying to sell us something.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose of information. You get soaked, and you might not even be getting the good stuff.
Right. And this is where art thinking can be so powerful. By encouraging us to question, to analyze, to look for different perspectives,
Yeah.
it makes us less likely to just accept things at face value.
So art thinking is like a BS detector for the internet age. I like it. Okay, so we've got art thinking as a foundation. Now let's build on that with this idea of research creation. You said this is about making art as a form of research. Give us an example of what that looks like in action.
Imagine instead of just reading a textbook about a historical event, you choreograph a dance that makes your audience feel the emotions of that time, the fear, the hope, the uncertainty. Or instead of writing a dry report about a social issue, you create a series of photographs that capture the human stories behind the statistics.
Okay, that's really cool. So it's not just about the finished product, the dance or the photograph, but about the process of creation itself being a form of research, a way of understanding the world in a different way.
Precisely. And while this might seem like a new idea, it's actually something that many of us already do in our own ways. Think about a time you had to explain a complex idea at work. Maybe you used a metaphor or an analogy to make it more relatable. Maybe you created a visual aid that helped people grasp the concept more easily. That's art thinking in action.
Ooh, I do that all the time. I'm a very visual thinker, so whenever I'm trying to explain something, I'm always sketching diagrams or coming up with weird little analogies. Like just the other day, I was trying to explain a marketing funnel to a client, and I ended up comparing it to a pachinko machine.
And did they get it?
They did. It suddenly clicked. I guess I was doing research creation and didn't even know it. But I can imagine some people might be skeptical. Like, can something be rigorous and creative at the same time? Those feel like they'd be at odds with each other.
That tension definitely exists. There's a long history of traditional academia viewing art as subjective, as less valid than, say, the hard facts of science. But the beauty of research creation is that it challenges those very assumptions. It says, what if we could generate knowledge through creative processes? What if art could be a valid way of exploring and understanding the world?
So it's not about throwing out logic and objectivity altogether, but about expanding our definition of what counts as knowledge and how we go about discovering it.
Exactly. And this leads us perfectly to the final piece of the puzzle that Saladin presents, STEAM.
STEAM. Okay, this is where things get really interesting for me because I actually read a statistic recently that blew my mind. Did you know that interest in STEM fields is actually declining, even though those skills are more in demand than ever?
It is a fascinating paradox, isn't it? We tell young people, STEM is the future. This is where the jobs are. We need more scientists and engineers. And yet, the way we often teach these subjects can be incredibly dry, incredibly focused on memorization and abstract concepts.
It's like we're giving them all the ingredients for a delicious cake, but forgetting to tell them how fun and rewarding it can be to actually bake it.
Precisely. And that's where art comes in, not as a separate subject, but as a way to make learning these subjects more engaging, more relevant to the real world, and ultimately more meaningful.
So instead of just learning about fractions, you're designing a treehouse. Instead of memorizing chemical equations, you're creating your own volcano.
Exactly. STEAM is about recognizing that art is not some frivolous add-on to STEM, but an essential ingredient in fostering the kind of creativity, problem-solving, and critical thinking skills that are essential for success in any field.
So it's not just about making STEM more fun, although let's be honest, a little more fun never hurts, but about tapping into a different way of thinking, a way of learning that resonates with a wider range of students.
Exactly. And the beauty of STEAM is that it recognizes that these skills are not mutually exclusive. Just as art can enhance STEM, STEM can inspire and push the boundaries of art.
So it's like this beautiful symbiotic relationship, and it makes you wonder if this approach is so effective, why isn't it more widespread? Why are we still stuck in these outdated models of learning that seem to be failing so many students?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And Saladin, he actually gets into some of the reasons in this paper.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, it's like, imagine you're trying to convince someone to trade in, like, their old, reliable car, the one they've had forever.
Right. But it's a little boring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For, like, a self-driving electric vehicle. It's new, it's exciting, but it takes a whole shift in thinking. Gotta be willing to learn some new things.
And maybe even learn some new skills, right? Like, I can practically hear the skeptics now. But we've always taught it this way. Why change things?
Exactly. Plus, there's the whole resource thing. To really do STEAM education right, you need new equipment, teachers need training. It's a whole rethink of how the classroom works.
Not to mention, how do you even measure the impact of something like creativity or art thinking? Standardized tests, that's not really their thing.
Totally. All those old ways of measuring what we know, they kind of fall apart when you're talking about the stuff STEAM is really good at.
It's like trying to measure, I don't know, the value of a sunset. You could talk about the science, the wavelengths of light.
But that doesn't quite capture it, does it?
Not even close. It's a feeling,
Yeah.
an experience.
Exactly. We need new ways of looking at learning itself, new ways of saying this form of knowledge, this way of expressing yourself, it matters. But that's
Yeah.
bigger than just schools, right?
It's a whole culture shift. Like,
yeah.
we're all redefining what it means to be smart in the 21st century. It's not just what you know, it's how you think, how you adapt, how you create.
And how you connect with other people. Let's not forget that. Art, at its heart, it's about communication, sharing ideas and feelings
Yeah.
in a way that just words can't always do.
Which is, that's what makes us human, right? So if our listeners are out there feeling inspired, maybe even a little fired up about this,
Yeah.
what's one thing they could do, in their own little corner of the world to encourage this kind of change?
You know what Saladin says? He says, start by just talking about it, like we are right now.
Love that.
Have these conversations with your friends, your family, people you work with. Share this episode with someone who you think might need to hear it. The more we talk about how powerful this stuff is, the better chance it has of actually happening.
Because it's not just about like adding a few art classes to the schedule. We're talking about a fundamental shift, right?
Yeah.
How we learn, how we innovate. Heck, even what it means to be human when the world's so driven by technology.
Exactly. Art isn't some luxury, some extra thing. It's part of who we are, how we thrive.
Beautifully said. And for our listeners, if you want to really go depth on this, I highly recommend checking out Saladin's full paper. We'll link it in the show notes, of course. It's a great read, really gets you thinking. So until next time, keep those creative sparks flying. Innovation. It often happens right where art meets everything else.